Hi folks, this is Amy and I'm just going to do a little introduction video on Chapter 2 when it comes to InDesign and working with text. I'm going to keep the textbook over here on the right and the design over here on the left. You'll want to make sure that you take a really strong look at this chapter. There are 4 essential elements when it comes to layout for designers, and that the first one is text, and that's why this chapter is second in the book. It's vitally important. Next we have color, illustration, and imagery. Those are really what folks stop and take a look at when they're engaging and trying to get the content of a design. You have a max about 4 to 6 sentences for someone to really stop and look at your design. So that's why the text is so important, and we want to kind of take a look at that and make certain that you're feeling comfortable with the tools that you're going to be using. One thing that I want you to take a look at here on the right, these are some of the panels that we're going to be looking at. We have the character and paragraph panel along with the find and change, okay? And this is going to be like find and replace in Microsoft Word along with check spelling, which is very much like spell check. Character and paragraph panel here, please don't confuse it with character and paragraph styles, okay? I'm going to come over here and come into my window, and I'm going to open those up for you, and they're going to be found under types and tables, and I'm going to click on character, and that should be found right here, and I'm just going to bring this over here and add it. Okay, I'm going to come back and do the same thing with my paragraph one, because you'll need both of those. Now, one thing that you want to notice is if you get panels in here and you want to pull them out, or you want to overlap them so they're in the same one, you can do something like that. You can pull them off, okay, and that gives you the X to close out of them. Make this side larger for you, okay. I'm going to do a Control plus to zoom in here. What I want to talk a little bit about is the type tool over here, and when you click that type tool on a blank document, it will be very much like creating a text box, and then you'll type in it. The type on path tool will come later. That will allow you to curve text around an image or another illustration. One thing that I do want you to know is that there's 2 basic types of type. One is sans serif and one is serif. These little items here that are extra little pieces on these characters of type make this a serif form of type. Sometimes it can be difficult for a person to read that from far away. So you may want to minimize that, or you may want to make sure that you include this. It's dependent on your design. I'm going to bring this back over here, hopefully. Okay. When you look over here on this screen, this is what we call a sans serif font because it doesn't have the extra little pieces and it's a little easier to read. So that's kind of what I just wanted to showcase there. 2 different types of type. Okay, you will go through the chapter and dig in and really start to manipulate the text. Where you're going to start to do this is the character panel, and there's going to be some things in here that you want to make sure that you have a handle on. What I like is if you hover over these items, it will tell you what that represents, and it will allow you to manipulate the type. Again, it's very much like Word. You have the type selected if you've already keyed it in, or you start from the get-go and make the modifications. Okay, so right up here will tell you what type you're using, if it's bolded or anything like that. And then over here we start to get into some of these extra things like font size, so you can jack up the font size. What will happen is you can do that within the design and kind of live preview it. All right, the ones that we're going to focus on today really will be your kerning, your leading, tracking, and some of these other things. Leading is very much like line spacing, okay, and putting that space between that. So let's go take a look at some of these examples. Here's an example of leading, and again, this is very similar to double single space, but you can manipulate this smaller or larger, and again, you can see that. You have to make sure that you are thinking about this invisible baseline. And that's the space from there to the top of the next line of text, what's being manipulated with regards to getting larger and smaller. Next, we're going to go into scaling horizontally and vertically. Okay, and you can see here of what they've done on these scaling techniques, and that just gives you a visual of that. Kerning and tracking, love these two. Kerning is a long-standing process of increasing or decreasing space between characters. So often this is kind of your alignment when it comes to the newspaper. You know, they're aligned on both sides of the columns. There's extra characters there. So this is kind of what you can see what it looks like. Kerning allows those little characters to get closer together, and if you don't have kerning, they're equal distance. Each character has a specific space, and they're all exactly the same. Okay. Kerning text with no tracking and track text with greater space between there. You can see the difference between that as well. Okay, and again, it's just a visual effort. So when you're trying to engage somebody visually, you can work with the kerning and the tracking, and that will manipulate some of those items between the characters. Next, you're going to get into the superscripts of characters, and that's an item like this, pushing above, pushing below, so you can see those. Subscripts are the ones below. Underlining text, okay, that's going to be, I think it's this one right here. Okay, come over here. Get my screen tip in, it doesn't want to come. There's kerning, there's tracking, horizontal scale. Okay, underlining your text is, I always have a hard time finding this one. Let's see if I can come over here, make that a little bit easier. That's where you're getting horizontal and vertical diagonal lines. And so you're going to manipulate that in here, and you kind of do that by hand. And that's a little bit more tricky because usually we're used to just doing the Control U and away you go. So that's kind of where we're getting into that, and you'll manipulate that here as well. And it looks like that underline will be right in here. So here's your underline options in here, okay? Next, we're going to come over to searching for different types of fonts. And again, you can experiment in here. It does a really good job of doing that. Next, they're going to get into formatting paragraphs, and you'll see here that you have a drop cap, and they're indented, and all of these different types of things. There's a larger line space between the paragraph. That makes it easier, so once you have that set up, you can do it in one fell swoop. Here's your paragraphs panel, and again, I'm going to come over here so you can see that. If you hover over these icons, it will tell you exactly what they're going to do. So just like in Microsoft Word, you don't want to hit the space bar to align, you're going to set it up here. Here are your alignments. Okay, there's more options here as well. And so these are some of the things that you're going to manipulate in this part of the chapter. Oops, let me come back here. Widows and orphans. These are items that need to be rectified. Widows and orphans are single lines of text that become separated from other paragraphs, and they can just be hanging there all by themselves. And so we want to make sure that that doesn't happen with paragraphs, and that it doesn't happen with the bottom of a page. So they'll talk to you about that as well with hyphenation settings and those different types of things. Next, you're going to get into hard returns and paragraph returns. A hard return is going to make that computer do a return. Paragraph return, the computer kind of decides that. So those are important things to know the difference between. Here are some styles that you'll be working with, and again, once you have this eggs and bacon style down, you can apply it to the other headings here. This is kind of the nuts and bolts about this chapter. So again, when you want to come and get your styles, you're going to go to Window, and styles are going to be here. I'm just going to click character styles, okay? And you'll be working with this one as well. Whoops. that right there. Okay, so that's a little bit about Chapter 2. Please make sure that you answer or ask any questions that you may have and use your water cooler discussion board area, or just send me a quick email. Enjoy manipulating that type. Take care.